detail wrong.
Wouldn't be surprised, concerned. Nope. Because
I feel like our dedicated listeners would be like, they kind of goofed that up. We don't get a whole lot of dear ass faces.
Well, listeners, throw in more dear ass face letters.
No. We've had a lovely, I got a lovely Facebook message, or we did Facebook message today of the Canyonero making new friends.
Welcome to Everyone Racers,
a show designed for the world of low-dollar racing
and an oddball car culture.
It doesn't matter what kind of Limit Champ or Lucky Track Dog League you run.
SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate.
As long as you drive it hard and build it yourself.
Join us each week for tech discussions,
tips, tricks.
Oh, sorry.
As well as news and
buttons from the world of amateur endurance racing.
And whether it's on
277 episodes.
And
Chrissy.
And I give you just the tip.
We're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less.
Report to the paddock.
This is Chris.
This is Chrissy.
You know, all I have to do is download those files to the computer, and then I don't have to do the whole play it on YouTube thing, but that would be 3 extra steps and add professionalism. So why would we do that?
What's your degree in?
And what's your name?
Just saying.
What's your name?
Oh, I'm Jeff. I'm El Jefe, it says in the notes.
No, she's trying to pimp you to continue.
I'm let's just go here. We have
what's your
name of the show? Who is yelling at their radio right now?
Nobody.
Mental. That's mental. Mental's here too.
I did say I'm mental.
Okay, we're Everyone Racers. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to a Magnus Walker P Car episode of our podcast. It's episode 277. Happy freaking New Year. The 277 car is the famous red, white, and blue 911 he became known for. It did not start as the Porsche outlaw craze, but one could argue that the 1971 911T defined it. While New Year thoughts naturally gravitate to change, let us not forget those things that stay. In an interview about the 277, Magnus said, "This car contains sweat stains and coffee stains and blood stains, and you just can't duplicate that. Not bonding with your old beloved tired ride? Embrace our E1R bingo cards, since you never know what we might talk about." Let's move on, even though you already know what kind of mood we're in tonight. What you working on, Jeff?
I was tremendously accomplishing of tasks in the last week.
Productive, you mean? That's
Productive.
usually a word.
But Englishing, not good.
Englishing, very difficult.
Uh-huh.
The students are not in school, so I don't have to talk well.
Okay.
It's nothing to do with anything.
But you're on a podcast, so you also don't have to talk well, which is just great.
Yeah, why that'd be fine. So I painted, I prepped, I sanded. The dogs love to blow through.
You sanded the dogs? How did the dogs
I was
feel
sanding the walls.
Apparently they love it. Apparently the dogs love sanding.
No,
because I was sanding.
That's why commas are
the
important.
dogs. You
Avoids
didn't
animal
breathe.
abuse.
Panda bears eat shoots and leaves. No. Listen, I was painting my dining room, and to avoid the dust going everywhere, because I had a little bit of spackling to do, I plastic sheeted from the rest of the house. And Comet is too stupid to realize that you can get to the back door by walking through the kitchen or through the dining room. So he would just slowly push his face into the plastic, and he was too stupid to figure it out. And then Trixie just decided, oh, that's a fun game. So she just kept running through the plastic sheet. It was
Sounds wonderful.
But anyway, that was only one of the jobs.
He won't do it, but I'm going to try and get it anyway. If you go right to where Jeff is pointing right now, Jeff, say something when you point, so the screen goes to you.
Yes. Hello.
All right. Point upwards.
Point up.
Actually hold your hand up.
Yes.
That's going to be where Jeff links the video to his dogs diagnosing his lawnmower.
Oh, okay. Yes, I could do that. We'll do that. Dogs diagnosing lawnmower. Yes. I have very cute dogs. They're very dumb. So anyway, so I painted, but that's moving furniture and then sanding and then painting and then moving furniture back. It was a hell of a week. And then my son was like, I want new shelves to hang my pop figures. And I did that. And my wife is about to start the big commute again. And her windshield washer squirters would not squirt, and she told me it was leaking. So I ordered from Rock Auto like the new tank that came with the new pump. And then she tells me, no, it's leaking up here, and she points at the cowl. And I'm like, oh, so I disassemble the entire cowl front of this 2015 Subaru Forester, and there's a little plastic Y for the squirter tubes that is cracked in half. So so I had to like disassemble 1,000 things for a 98-cent part, but it was like half a day to figure it out. So and then driving everywhere, because who the hell has that? So thanks, Chris. Why do you have windshield washer parts?
In case a 98-cent Y cracks, he
Because
doesn't
ours
spend
went.
half the
You're
day
on
driving
mute,
around.
but ours went bad.
Well, no, I stripped them out of every race car except the Mazda. So the little funny little bits I keep, because those times those are good for vacuum lines and stuff like that.
Yeah, I ended up getting a vacuum line T and using that because no one had a windshield washer squirter. So anyway, so then I had an entire day of 60-degree weather here in New Jersey, and I worked on the RX-7 race car, and I would love to say that I got a lot done, but what I did was I mounted the power steering rack and got it all connected to the wheels and everything, but that was like a tremendously terrible job because the I had to like make a bracket and cut the old brackets, and the power flex bushings didn't fit, so I had to like one has a power flex bushing, the other one has a regular bush. It was quite fiddly for like something that stupid, like a manual steering RX-7 to turn it into a power steering RX-7 should not be that hard, but it was like 1,000 damn steps and very annoying.
It looked good when you were done.
Yeah, no, it looks great. Yeah, it'll
Well.
work great too. So speaking of that, I was actually prepping and doing some other things because I'm going to marry the transmission to the motor and then start doing some test fitting this
You
weekend.
have a little ceremony. You wear your hat.
No, yes.
Okay.
Do you, motor, LS, take 300Z transmission?
I think it's going to be more of a shotgun.
Well,
You do,
but
don't you?
In the new lemons wrap up for New Hampshire, they show Jeff marrying people. He married you
true.
guys, so maybe if he actually does pronounce the engine and transmission as one, it's a good thing.
It's possible.
He's batting 1,000 on marriages.
We got a
Read
hell
from
of a
the Book of
shout out
Haynes.
on the video, by the way. So his question for the group: who took the LS computer ECM, whatever it is, PCM, out of the 300Z, and did they leave the LS mounting bracket? Who are you pointing at? I can't tell because it's different on every screen. Did I do that?
He's not
Yes.
pointing at me.
Yeah.
Shoot. I cannot find the bracket that holds the PCM.
It was you or Jim. I remember seeing it come out, and I thought the bracket was attached to it still.
Do we have more than one PCM?
Yes.
Oh, I could be looking at the wrong PCM then.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. We'll
Yeah.
figure that out. Expect a phone call.
We have
this
two, so we
weekend.
needed a spare.
Yeah, expect a
Because-
phone call this weekend when I say which bolts go where and where. Because yeah, that's it. That's what I was working.
Are you
I
going to be
forgot to
working on
say.
it on Saturday by any chance?
Yeah, I'll probably be working on Saturday.
I have to go to Fazio's on Saturday, so I could probably
Oh.
stop by and say that bolt goes here, that bolt goes here, that bolt goes here.
That could work well. I should also say, and this is a bit of shop safety. So it started raining, so I moved to the inside of the garage to do a bunch of work in there, and I immediately like zapped my my giant steel workbench, like sparks, ozone, burnt smell, all the power went out, the lights went out. I had nicked somehow the wire from my grinder.
Somehow. Who knows how Jeff
Exactly.
did that?
But it was like 1.5 feet away from the grinder. So it
Just
didn't...
about the right spot for it to loop around and hit the wheel.
No. I mean like the bench grinder, the one that's bolted to the
Oh.
bench.
Oh, I thought you meant an angle grinder.
No, so it like grounded on the bench and like nearly like set the place on fire. It was pretty fun. Shop safety, everybody. Check your wires.
Different definition of fun than most people.
Why didn't you save that for just the tip of, hey, everybody, once in a while, look at the wires that you have
We
on
don't
your
have
electrical
one,
tools.
so you just got just the tip right now.
There's your just the tip.
you
Everybody.
just got it right now.
Look at the wires on your electrical tools to see if they may have frayed over time. Just take a quick look. There you
Yeah.
go.
Ta-da!
Just the tip. Early. It's disappointing people even more when it's just a tip too soon. Damn it.
And it's a short just the tip, and you don't get to like have it. Never mind. Mental, save us from this by telling us what you were working on.
Not nearly as interesting as you guys, but I did. We'll talk about it here in a bit. I posted this up. I am trying to make good on our New Year's goals. I am down another car.
Oh,
Yeah, the
Which one?
local, the T5 wagon is no
Okay.
more. They came and picked it up on New Year's Day, actually.
New owner or junkyard or what?
Junkyard. So I went to the
Okay.
pull apart site, but they said, "Oh, you're outside of our zone. We're going to connect you to a website," which then came and picked it up and took it to the exact same people that I tried to sell it to. But so we got a little drinking money out of that one. And
is this the wagon that
the
was
black
the
one.
5-speed? Oh, the
Mhm.
black one. Okay, not
the one
white
that the longest ever heater core exchange, and then it blew the cam seals out, and I'm tired of things that don't make me happy anymore. So be gone. So if you need
Death to
Volvo
it.
parts, yeah.
Yeah.
Not death. It's just, it's moving on to its new life, and someone's going to get some great parts out of that car. Most of the interior is already removed, in boxes in the trunk, and it's sitting at the Henderson, Nevada pull apart right now. So, get on it. And then I rented a U-Haul, loaded it up full of a bunch of metal stuff that had been collecting in my backyard, and took that to the metal recycling. Aside from that, it was back to work this week.
How
So-
much weight of your metal was it? How much did you get?
I got all of $40. It was, I want
Oh.
to say it was just under 1,000 pounds.
Still, it's great to get rid of it. Nice recycle.
It is. It is.
Someone
Yep.
paid you
and
for something that you were going to throw away. So paid for your.
did you
U-Haul,
play the
kind
game of guess how much you think we were going to get before you went there?
I did not, and I should have.
We always do.
But mental's new to that.
Price
So,
is
you know,
Right
you
one.
guys have like
oh, he doesn't get rid of things.
you go to the
That's
same
right.
place
That's
all the
true.
time.
That's
You
true.
can estimate.
Yeah, we make a pile. Yep, we hoard things until we go. Yes, but
But
good,
it was-
good
it
job. Your
was-
congratulations.
Yeah. And I'll say this about the metal recycling place here. It's there's like 4 locations here in Las Vegas, and I went to the one, and as I'm just throwing stuff into the dirty metal pile, the guy came over who runs the little forklift thing. He goes, no, and he stopped. One of them was the 928 transaxle. He said, that's aluminum, that's aluminum, that's aluminum. And he went through, and some aluminum bits that I'd thrown in there, pulled those back out, put them back in the truck, and had me drive back over, weigh it again, because aluminum is worth more.
Totally.
And it was
And
just,
It's
nice
harder
of
for them to sort that way too, because they go to pick it up with the big magnet, and that stuff doesn't pick up, and then they got to go pick it up.
Yeah. But yeah, he could have just told me to drive over there and screwed me out of like $7 or $8.
Yeah,
But
mixed
it was nice,
metal.
yeah.
Put it all in mixed metal.
good people there at I think S&T Recycling here in Las Vegas.
Wonderful.
That's
Um,
great.
So it looking through this, it looks like we were all leaning into the New Year's by trying to simplify our existence. So Chris, what were you working on?
Cleaned my mom's garage. Well, I cleaned 25% of my mom's garage. Yep.
Now, wait a second. Is your mother's garage worse or better than my garage?
Better in that she could
Better.
easily fit actually 2 cars plus a
Oh.
bunch of things in it. But
And it was better
uh,
before we cleaned it, and even better after when we cleaned it.
Got it. Got
But
it.
you
It
can
is
walk around it.
substantially
Yes.
larger than yours to start with. But a concept that she and you both struggle with is that the floor is not a shelf. And
Then gravity should not exist.
How about a car is also not a shelf?
yeah, it's not anymore, fortunately, which is
It
good.
was a shelf.
Yep. But I went through a lot of stuff with her and said, are you going to use this? Do you need 3 of these? What is your plan for using this rough hewn 1x6 lumber? Like,
Do you need 3 ladders and 3 rakes? And
I have 3 ladders.
well, these are all the same and 2 of them are broken. So
Oh, well, yeah. Broken ladder is useless.
Yeah.
And
So
dangerous.
anyway, we
Just-
cleaned a substantial portion of the garage, which is nice. And I gave her some instructions about what to do with some other things for the next time that she has someone over there to help her with it, which she will at some point. So that's good. And I've been prepping for cart builds because I've been talking about it, part of the TIG welding process. I'm going to make a fuel cart and a beach cart, and trying to decide on designs for these is a pain, but even worse is trying to design on, because the beach cart is going to be electrically powered, and it has been a challenge to figure out the exact right size of motor, RPM of motor, what kind of how many sprockets should it be on the front, on the back, what kind of chain should it be, how many amp hours do I need, all this crap. Yeah, so working on that. But I really need tomorrow night, need to get my order together for Fazios to put that in so I can pick it up on Saturday.
When?
Yep. Because I'm tired of having no actual projects to work on really until I can do that.
Okay.
Cool.
Done.
Chrissy?
Before we left to go to Chris's mom's house in Boston, I finished the last of the wood stacking. So our wood stacking is about 95% done. I have to move the rest of some of the what do you call it? There's a couple of wood parts needs to be raked, that kind of thing, like cleaned up, over to the other pile. So it's almost done. Yes, that's great. No more dumpster diving. No more. The last one that we need pallet needed to get, I asked for it, so I didn't have to dumpster dive, which was very nice. Yeah, we partied in Boston, came back home, back to real life. So
For New Year's Eve, you guys went down to B Town for the celebration.
But yes. Oh no, we didn't go into town. No.
Okay.
We sat in
was
our pajamas in the
Pouring
living
rain
room.
that night.
Yeah.
Yeah. pouring
No,
rain.
we just
No
had
good.
champagne and watched the TV on mute and then turned it off shortly after the ball dropped. So yeah, it was fine. A lovely night. Played some backgammon, family fun. All's well.
I lit the Pennsylvania legal fireworks that I bought near your house like 2 years ago, and
Sparklers?
Pennsylvania like basically is, if you don't have a Pennsylvania driver's license, you can buy anything you want because you're taking it out of state.
Mhm.
So I lit one of them up, and
A problem going away is not a problem.
exactly, and it went into the air and exploded, and it was like one of those things where, like, you light one fuse and 10 goes off, and Jen came out and said, "We won't be doing another one of those, will we?"
So you did one and
I
then
did
you have to
one.
say,
No, and then I went to the New Jersey stuff that's like snakes
just
and sparklers. So.
boring stuff. Okay. No, it's time.
14 years ago, we came to know his name as he slid his Subaru WRX around the abandoned Marine Corps station at El Toro. And this was his rally car because he was known as professional rally driver at that point. Like or hate him, his impact on the motorsport and social media landscape is undeniable. If you're listening, then you already know that number 43 Ken Block died in an unfortunate snowmobile accident on Monday. He leaves behind a wife and 3 children. Your feed, like ours, probably reflects an outpouring of stories and examples of his quiet demeanor and passion for life. Linked in our notes is a promotional video he made for DC Shoes, the company he helped found, and he sold, which is how he bought his first race cars and got into professional racing. So yeah, the company which he helped found before turning to motorsports. If you're a fan, it's worth a watch, and it does reflect a life well lived. In his own words, quote, in his words, I don't like the term innovator, but I like the idea that we try to do things differently. As a brand, as a company, and me as a person, try not just to do the same things, the same status quo that everybody else does. He added, I try to inspire people to be creative and live a fun life, and concluded with, don't be an asshole, which was
That's
his
awesome.
tagline. Godspeed, Ken. Shout out to all those videos. Don't forget, he was a professional racing driver for a very long time, very successful rally driver. So even if you didn't like the showman stuff, he was fairly accomplished.
You couldn't miss that one on the internet.
No.
Well, maybe it's just because of the people we hang out with, but I'm pretty sure.
If you push the videos of cars on the internet, you're probably going to get delivered Ken Block videos.
Probably. Okay, we were sad to see Seb Vettel leave F1, but we may not have been so sad for so long. Jerry Perez at The Drive tells us that he is in talks with Red Bull F1 for a top management role. Red Bull's advisor Helmut Marko said during a recent interview that it's not impossible that he will come back for a top management position. The four-time world champion retired after Abu Dhabi in November to focus on time with his family, as well as his efforts on sustainability, climate protection, and human rights activism. But he could bring 15 years experience to the double reigning championship team. And he said before his final race, I can't ignore the fact that I have a lot of heart and soul for motorsport and very close to the sport. As Perez tells us, we have already seen a lot of management changes in F1, and this might actually prove to be a positive step, or at least interesting.
They were talking about bringing, I'm sorry, the world was rumoring, not that F1 or anybody was talking about it, that he really should be going to Ferrari because their management is just terrible right now. And obviously,
But he's not in talks with Ferrari.
I know,
He's
that's what
in
I'm saying.
talks-
So
that's not news.
I'm surprised to hear that he's going to Red Bull because although he obviously drove for Red Bull, they got their ship together pretty good, you know?
It's going to be a while. I think he
Yeah.
needs some time to go plant
He's going to
some trees.
take
Yes,
off, right?
and
Do
pick
some
up some trash
Yeah.
and hang out with his
He's not coming
family.
back.
He will eventually, but
Mm-mm.
not anytime soon.
Mm-mm.
This is just, oh, it's the middle of winter and the F1 writers have nothing to write about. So we're
I
going to make up all this
completely
stuff.
agree.
Yeah, I'm down with you on that one too.
Oh, did you see what Karun Shantok thought the other day? That's the best article they got lately, right?
Everything in my podcast feed except the show. So
Yeah.
Yes.
They have nothing to talk about.
Nope.
Right now. Yep. Cool. Hey, do you remember 1998?
I do.
I
As a matter of fact,
do.
I graduated
kinda
grad
do,
school
too.
in '98.
Yeah, I had a 98 Integra that I bought new. That was fun. Anyway, another thing that people still did in 1998 is they wrote checks. And the trick when you're writing checks this time of year is you had to write the new year, or you'd start and then go, damn it. And you'd have to avoid it
Totally.
and write another one. And everyone behind you in the checkout line of the Piggly Wiggly, because people who write checks are more likely to go to the Piggly Wiggly than any other supermarket, TM, to remind you of this, especially my ancient co-host who wrote this, that it is 2023. Here's a list of 7 great cars that are now eligible for importation under the 25-year rule. This list was compiled by Frankie Cruz at Car and Driver. Link is in our show notes. So number 1, the R35 Skyline. Not the GTR. You're going to wait another year for that, but it's rear drive, manual, turbo 6, a GTST. Still an R34, still cool. Lancer Evo 5, car that helped Mitsubishi earn its first and only Constructors' Championship, only made for 1 year. You too can be broken by the side of the road. Subaru Impreza
Yeah, don't buy
STI
one of those.
22B. Don't bother. One sold last year and bring a trailer into the show exemption law for 300,000. But yeah, you can,
Oh.
if you like Subarus, which I don't understand
What?
any people that do.
No.
You can get a Legacy GTB wagon, which is number 4 on the list. So sequential turbos, manual, all-wheel drive wagon. All right, still it's gonna
That
break.
could be cool.
It's gonna break and be terrible, but anyway. Honda Accord SIRT CERT. It's a 200 horsepower manual turbo Accord. Excellent. A Proton.
I was gonna say your Honda fanboy is showing because I guess that's all right, but
I mean, I thought the Nissan was fine. I just don't like Subarus.
I'm okay.
The Proton Satria GTI.
What?
I don't. Yeah, exactly. Proton was the majority owner of Lotus from 96 to 2017, and they had a rally homologation hatch with the same motor from the Lancer GSR. So it's probably interesting. You know, you're certainly going to be the only one with it at Cars and Coffee. 7 and 8, the Porsche and Nissan GT1 cars, but Porsche only made the road legal version, only 25, and it's $11 million. But hey, you know, if you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
If you have $11 million and you're going to spend it on a car, do you care that you can get plates for it?
Depends on
Yes.
what you're gonna-
How are
depends
you
what kind of
gonna
person
How are you
are.
gonna make the proles feel bad if you can't drive it?
If you have
Because
that
rent
much
the
money,
test track for the day yourself,
Yeah.
and then take pictures there while you sit and eat lunch, and no one uses the track while someone works on your car.
I think people with that
Wow.
many means get tags for their cars, whether they're legal or not.
That's a dealer tag. Come on.
Yeah.
Someone gets they make up a dealer, they get a dealer tag, they drive whatever they want with the dealer tag.
All right, I'm gonna give you that one. All right.
Okay.
But if you don't have $11 million and you're looking to kind of expand that racer aperture and get a few skills under your belt, how about karting? Now, roll down to that local pole position K1 or the Andretti indoor facility, whatever's near you, or all of them. A lot of them actually have leagues, and some of them are fairly competitive. But if you've outgrown that, or that's just not enough for you, the crew over at Racing Junk have another idea. They have currently 26 listing for karts. They even have a pair of those old, if you remember the Malibu Grand Prix speed zone places that used to be set up, there's an old Chips
Yeah.
episode with that. They got one of those or actually they got a pair of those for sale. They would make, by the way, amazing judge mobiles if you were looking to bribe yourself on a good weekend. And depending on how much work you want to do, there's a there's a KT100 kart, there's LO206s, which is a sealed engine competitive class. It's starting at about $2,000 up to a collection of 3 karts along with spares and gear for $10,000. Actually, I take that back
Bill,
because
just don't.
it was
don't.
listed at 10,000.
Bad.
And here's my thing. So don't necessarily buy them, but my host is disabled screen sharing. Check it out on racingjunk.com. The links are in our show notes because it is always free to browse and it is always free to post on racingjunk.com. But if you want the full experience, check out one of their, I think they're still selling one of their memberships, one of the annual memberships.
I apologize. I was
racingjunk.com.
going to the actual thing
Yeah,
to
it's all good.
share. That's all right. We'll keep going. The Malibu Grand Prix car was the one I wanted to share because that's
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
I definitely spent some time in my youth driving these things and trying to convince my parents to take me to the Malibu Grand Prix.
I remember deliberately lying about my age because I was tall for a pubescent lad, just to get a chance to drive one of those because I think you had to be 14 or something.
Yeah.
Listener feedback time.
Now, in our last show about gifts and goals, our buddy Matt F, for his goal, quote, trying to up our shenanigans game. So far, it has not improved, but hey, we've got 362 more days. So he even started last year giving up. That was impressive.
Good job, Matt. Jeff.
Oh, sorry, I'm fixing the screen share.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Great.
Greg O'Brien says, for Christmas, my wife and sons got me a sweet FIA racing suit from Race Image. I actually saw that. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was
It
pretty
is pretty
nice.
legit. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, again, we haven't. How long has it been since we told people to go buy their suits on Race Image on this podcast? It's a
Hashtag they should
great
totally
website.
sponsor us.
Totally sponsor us. Going into the seventh season of racing, she is still supportive enough to encourage racing with gifts. The significance of it is twofold. Sorry, that was number one. Number two, I was more than willing to settle for the discounted green and gold Fuzzy's vodka suits that they'd had all year, but she spent significantly more to get the nicer Scuderia Corsa Ed Carpenter racing suit made by Sparco because, in her words, quote, it will look nicer on you and it's the same colors as your old suit, so we can pick you out on the track and in the pictures and in the videos, which was great. The old budget 5-layer quilt that I've been running around will still come in handy for March and November. Ladies and
fueling.
gentlemen,
You'd be surprised.
Nope.
You still get hot.
It's
even
great.
the other one.
yeah.
But I say if fueling, it's great for fueling,
That's
not when
true.
you're in the car.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't own a nice race suit, treat yourself if you have the means, because they make all the difference in the
And
world.
this was so thoughtful of his wife.
This is the perfect way to go. Ask family for safety gear, because family will be like, okay, you know what? I'll fine. I'll pony up for the good safety gears. I want you to.
It
be
wasn't even
safe.
on our Christmas list. Why didn't we even? What? We didn't even say this.
I don't know, because we all have it now. So
I
we
guess
just-
we-
True.
Yeah.
And I'm diverting here. Speaking of cool things that my co-hosts have, I am totally jealous of that shirt, Chris.
Thanks. I got it for Christmas.
Oh, somebody got
Yeah.
it for Christmas.
Metzel posted about getting rid of a truck full of parts, and Dave Carper said, "Hey, my guess it's unfinished projects going to the scrapyard." I mean, you're not entirely wrong.
they were long ago. Most of the mass of those projects have been disposed of, and those things have been thrown out back. It was, as I mentioned, some 928 bits from the 928 that tried to kill me, and the one that I chopped up, and the motorcycle that self-destructed.
Yep.
Hmm.
Jeff.
Tom Buswell, goal for 2023 year: don't roll over.
That's even better.
That's better than don't fall down. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jerry Ringel said the Inglorious Bastards annual New Year's resolution is to finish the half Aston and get her in a real race.
He does make that goal every year. It's a great one. Wally Plummer, quote, my joke Auto X class that uses the 420 treadwear tires took off this year and has been adopted by the surrounding regions. 2023 goals continue to smack fun into the SCCA, one shenanigan at a time. And we're going to put a link to the Cones and At YouTube channel, because it's worth it. If you're going to kill brain cells watching TV, at least do it with someone you like.
Wally, Randy, whatever your name is out
Right.
there, keep doing God's work.
Yeah.
Keep
And
changing
that's-
your Facebook name every 10 minutes so nobody knows who you are. Congratulations on the wedding, and I'll still fight you on the pizza comment. So
Oh, that wasn't even in here.
No, the 420 treadwear tire thing is actually a great way to learn car control on an autocross track. Like, that's actually really phenomenal to learn how to control the car at the limit, go over the limit, pull it back. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Learn how tires will overheat and how they lose traction while they're doing it. Yeah, it's a great idea.
It's a wonderful learning tool. For all the people that put Hoosiers on an HPD 1, you need to be doing this instead.
Yeah.
Anyway, Bill Fisher asked if the parts were incoming or outgoing.
They are on their way out.
Gone.
on the YouTube, Tyler S said, quote, Dad got me a keychain of miniature Mazda B6 head gasket. How did he ever find that? That's amazing.
Etsy.
Etsy's got everything.
Yes,
I got
true.
myself a laptop so I can iRace in my free time while at Army Advanced Individual Training. AAIT. Ooh. If the internet at Fort Eustis is good enough. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I look forward to catching up on all the episodes I missed during basic once I get my phone back. As for goals, I have to get paid to fly an airplane and race my own car. I'm really hoping I can do the latter at Road America Lemons in October.
Right.
He texted me this morning, all the weather in the Midwest. He earned one more night of reprieve from basic training thanks to Delta. So they
Hey, if he'd have flown
by the
Southwest,
time
he could have had a
this
couple weeks off.
by the time this he is in the Midwest. By the time this gets there, it'll all be he'll be back getting yelled at.
Tim B rewrote our recap. Mental reinvents himself. Chrissy loves overdrive. Jeff goes for a super license F1 2024, and Chris does more exterior work and covers his Hulk.
Tim can start writing those end of the
Right?
end of
We
the show.
just
And our buddy AJ, I am geeked that you Yens, this is his words,
Nice.
are coming to the Pittsburgh Grand Prix this summer. I go every year. I'll be sure to bring you a beer. We'll be waiting. Warning, it is always on the hottest, humid, grossest weekend of the summer, so plan accordingly. Again, those were his words. I had a conversation with one of the main organizers. He told me the same thing.
we're there that weekend, just on the other side of
we're
the,
just
the city. So
exactly.
Yes. I feel like Pittsburgh might be a little more humid, with the rivers all right there, but I what do I know? All right. Also, if you check the Enormous Car Show, and there are a ton of them, it takes over this entire 18-hole golf course. You'll get to see my first gen RX-7 leaking oil and fuel all over the fancy golf course where they hold the event. If it didn't leak fuel and oil, it's not really in first
Wouldn't be
gen
an RX-7. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael K said, may I suggest Road America for the new track? Sorry, Michael, it's not new to me. It is a great track.
It would be new to me.
Going there, but it's not
I'm
new
the
to
only
me.
one who's never been to RA, right?
correct. Oh,
No,
man.
never.
Oh,
Had every intention of that was going to be one of my new tracks, but it didn't work out. But if we were talking about things to do as a team, if there's a team local that could rent us we don't need to be competitive, just car. Class C would probably be the
Preferably
best.
reliable. That's really
Preferably
the
reliable.
Reliable.
Yeah,
no need too
reliable.
fast. Yep.
No,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. We'd prefer reliable. It will
C
return.
doesn't mean bad.
Yeah.
Safe is also something I'm interested in at Road America, just because.
Sure.
Not a
Sure,
lot of
absolutely.
no. There's not a lot of runoff in some places. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm not sure who said this. So somebody wrote on our Facebook when we were
I'm
talking
terribly
about
sorry. That was my
okay.
bad. It was I typed that in up at the last minute. Go ahead and read it, and I'll have the quote.
Thank you. Shifting our fitness goals on Facebook. Somebody says I can't do push-ups hardly, so I modify them by putting my hands on the edge of the countertop in the kitchen. This put my body about 45-degree angle. I built up about 80 reps for a few weeks with no joint pain. Your knees slightly bent, your feet will be, and make sure your feet are secure. We started doing push-ups today. We did benching yesterday.
Okay, yeah, you were gonna post the thing in our Slack channel because I'm actually looking to. Sorry.
I did. So we only came up with the rules tonight. So
okay, excellent. All right, so I apologize. That was my bad, but it was a lovely supporter who listens to our show. I'm totally jeffing this up. I know.
Let it go.
It's fine. Thank you. Thank you, person.
And we appreciate it. Thank you. And that's just good for anybody. If you're like, you can't do push-ups, that's why I included it. Because
Thank you.
Chrissy could do like the crazy ones where you're against the wall, like doing handstand push-ups or
I
something.
cannot do that, but that's okay. You can make me sound good.
All right, everybody, brace yourself. It's very exciting. We have received another iTunes review.
Yay.
It is number 60. Do we win anything, Apple, for getting 60 iTunes review?
I
Or
would like
does
to
this
point out that
person?
we are averaging 5 stars. That's our average. We have not gotten anything.
This is
Lots
the
of
point
people
where I
are
totally
listening to that part
butcher.
at the end of the show.
This is the point where I totally butcher whoever's name this is. Randy Scalaaba 13.
Sure.
How'd I do, right?
Sounds good.
Just a few days ago, he left us 5 stars and said, quote, "I love these people!" Exclamation point. This is such a great podcast to listen to. And if you're into any type of automotive racing, but specifically any road racing and more specifically endurance racing, I'm a beginner track day guy and hoping to get into time trials soon. And I've learned so much for them that about different tracks I've never ever heard of, racing lines, and even silly stuff I find entertaining and knowledgeable. And it makes me love this podcast even more. I do wish you could all get together in person for a few podcasts. I think we'd all love that.
I don't know. Go back to listen to some of ours and tell us how you think.
I don't think
The ones
so.
that-
It's a great idea right up until about my 3rd tequila.
So yeah,
Um,
Randy, there are live episodes out there. We usually do live episodes when we get together for things.
Don't
if you
listen to me read copy at
I was
the
going
end
to
of
say,
the
if
show.
you look for PRI,
Don't
or
do that.
we did
SEMA.
one at the Mentals at SEMA.
We did a Christmas episode here because I'm pretty sure I made you all read copy at the end of the show. Yes. Yep.
Gets drunk pretty quick.
Yes. And then it doesn't become productive. But if you think that can be fun, check it out. There are a couple.
We're allowed to do that. We're not driving anywhere. You know, that's the whole idea of all of us being together.
I just can't say that I'm the greatest podcaster when I have been drinking. So
I'll
therefore-
post
Of
the SEMA
podcasters
one.
who drink, I will argue that you're better than most.
Did we videotape? Did we put the SEMA one on YouTube?
Yeah,
Or
we did it.
the
We did it
PRI
I
live.
don't remember.
The PRI one.
PRI we did live. SEMA,
definitely did the video on it.
SEMA was pre-YouTube. We didn't start YouTube until the pandemic. That was that was 2.5 or 3.5 years ago.
I think we
Oh.
went live on Facebook, so I don't think we ever put them on YouTube. You'll have to find them in the podcast feed. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry if you listen to them.
Oh, and that's even worse if
Anyway,
you're just going to listen to
You
it.
know who has seen all of our podcasts and heard all of the live shows? And we thank her for this.
I don't know if we thank her for that.
It's Chrissy's mom.
Yes.
Hi, Chrissy's
Oh no,
mom.
we thank her. She may not thank us, but
She
we're
listens.
grateful for her loyalty.
Hi, Mom. Okay, spare topic time.
This was a wonderful idea from our safety-minded co-host,
Wherever you
and
are.
it is based on an article that JG Pasterjack, who has been on this show, and actually we were on his show as well, wrote, and you can find it. We'll have it linked in our show notes. And it is 6 driving fundamentals I wish I could teach my younger self.
This is a great
And
article.
Yeah, I thought so too.
is. And if you're not reading JG, you really should, because he has lived a life of a gearhead.
And
So-
his writing, I think, in my opinion, is actually the best on GRM. He's their art director. He wasn't originally the writing guy, but his prose is excellent.
I
Okay.
think he has a more artistic, fun writing style than some of the others that probably went to like journalism school and are trying to like write more
Because
serious. And
I mean,
I'm writing a text.
he's smart and he's a mechanic, but he's not primarily a technician. So he writes differently. But we're going to talk about these 6 fundamentals, and I think the plan was we each kind of added in some stuff I wish I could go tell myself on there. So we'll start with the sentiments of the article, and the first one I got no disagreement with is the car is always better than you. Let it do the hard work. I will caution and say this was not always true, because a lot of cars, your early iterations of traction control and ABS were horrible. So you turned them off. But now I'm not even sure that's the right answer, but I'm fast. I genuinely want to hear what you guys all say about it.
I think a lot of it though is people immediately go trying to modify their car. Like they go out for their first autocross, their first track day, like, oh, well, I'm going to go get some springs and do this and blah, 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 blah. I need a chip. They just need to drive the thing, because a lot of them end up ruining it by modifying it. And
it's a good car. Yeah.
I think another thing, and I can even point out a realistic time recently when I got this. We talked about this when we were driving for Extreme Experience. Most humans on their driving in the roads have not felt like higher than like 0.25 Gs or 0.35 Gs. Your car is way more capable than that. And if you're using the butt odometer to get yourself to what you think the edge is, you are probably nowhere near it. And this happened a couple years ago when we don't get to right seat a lot because Lemons, the track days have kind of like, but at Connecticut, I was in the right seat. Instead of Chris yelling at me to do better, I right seated him and just said, just drive. And I felt him going much deeper and much harder that I didn't realize the Civic was capable of. Not in the sexual way, in the car and in the turns. But really, I had to reset my brain on how capable that Civic was and how it was built and how much it could abuse, because I was trying so hard to be smooth that I don't think I was approaching the upper limits. So that's when JG said the car is better than you. The car can do way more than you think it can, if you do it correctly.
Totally agree.
Cool.
Next one's you, Jeff.
Next one's me. Don't work so hard. This was a good one in the article too. And I'll just say that this was kind of opposite to what I was just saying. This is a lot more of the smooth is fast, and the things that you do are probably going to screw it up. The lightest touch, doing the least that you need to, turning smoothly, being smoothly. We talk about the eggshell on the brake and transitioning from the gas to the brake in a smooth way. Be relaxed. All of those things are what he means when he says don't work so hard. If you're wrestling the car, you're not doing it right. If you're tense, you're not doing it right. If you're squeezing everything so hard, you're probably not doing it right. Relax. Feel it. Roll your shoulders. Wiggle those fingers when you're on the straights. Don't work so hard.
I see so many people fighting the car when they don't need to be. And it's just making you go slower, making you work harder, making you lose attention, making you lose focus, taking your attention away from where it's supposed to be. Like you see it in videos. It's like people, their hands are all over, the wheels going all over the place all the time. They're doing this and they're shifting like crazy. Calm down. You're going to go faster. Like if you just start to do the things the right way without trying, all of a sudden you're going to be going just as fast, if not faster, than the person who's trying to light the world on fire.
Totally agree.
All right. Number 3.
I would say it's like being intimate. Just you relax, enjoy it, quit trying to do everything hard and fast.
Sure.
There's
Time
too
and
much
place for
sexual
everything.
stuff on this podcast.
Right.
I'm gonna have
All
to.
right.
Nobody said a curse, and I'm gonna have to check the explicit box.
Okay.
I
Next
said
one.
intimate.
It's true. He was the most appropriate of all of us. Braking is more important than you think. Yes. And actually, this is so I wrote mine before I even read his article because I didn't want to be biased by it. So I wanted to see what mine were. And one of mine, I'll just talk about it now. I said braking, way more important, and it's not the breaking point that is critical. But I think if you learned anything listening to Ross Bentley, it's end of braking is critical and how you do it. And you have a brake zone, and how you manipulate that and manage it is so much more important than the brake at the 3.
Yep. It took me a very long. Well, I still do
s-
it.
I still have
Right.
to break myself of it. Kidding me?
Yeah.
Something you learned for so long, and now it's like,
Mhm.
how do I manipulate that zone better? How do
And-
I use
And the zone
coming-
only happens for 1-2 seconds. Right.
Right.
and how
It's
you
the
use the brake
release
to adjust.
point.
Yeah. And the
Yes.
whole thing adjusts the attitude of the car. You could use the brakes to make it turn, to make it do things that you want to do. But just knowing how to do that and that you can do it is, there's so much time in that's just a concept that we don't get until it's too late and you already have bad habits.
Chrissy, are you good or okay? I
Yeah.
was gonna say
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I'm sorry, my microphone.
no.
Started getting unplugged.
I'm with all you guys. I'm not where I want to be on it. And I think when I stopped thinking of braking as an action and as a phase of whatever I'm trying to get the car to do, it made me better at it. But then it opened up the whole thing of, how bad I am at it. And how important it is. So yeah, just rethinking braking is more than just slowing the car.
Totally.
It's also okay, Chris.
Nope. I'm good.
Also, it's a blend. Like I think when we first got into performance driving, we talked about brake in a straight line, then turn. And as you get more advanced, that's no longer how you brake.
It's all just part of the ballet, which will come up in my section. So the next one on JG's list is get comfortable, which I really like. I think this makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of being in a race car is not comfortable, but making it as comfortable as you possibly can is what is important. Making sure that your seat fits everybody. Don't try to squish yourself into a seat that doesn't fit. Especially with endurance racing, you're going to be in it for a while. But I think this is really it really speaks to me a lot when we spent so much time in the old Honda when it was super loud. The seat position wasn't comfortable. Everything was too far away and you just nothing was comfortable. It wasn't natural. So you'd get out and just have weird muscle feeling and just
No dead pedal.
Yeah. That one did have it.
I put that back after
I think you put it back.
getting yelled at.
Yeah. We don't allow no
I
dead
was
pedals.
the yeller. I admit it.
I was I might be
We
behind
both
you.
were.
We
Yeah.
both were. So if 2 of us are going to say so, then you lose. 3 then you lose. So I think getting comfortable is really important because it'll make it's one less thing for you to have to worry about or think about when you're racing.
It's like things. The point of this is telling your younger self. And I think when we were all younger, I could sit in the middle seat, saves weight because I'm hard. I'm a race car driver, and
I can drive a Kirky to work.
exactly. And I've done dumb crap like that. And now, I know that Chris, when he was designing the cage for the new Honda, it was like, if we drop this down, we're still legal. And man, is it easier to get in and out of the car. And we don't have to completely contort as much. And when you're young and you think you're invulnerable, you underestimate the importance of being comfortable as something to facilitate you doing the rest of your job in that race car.
Just go listen to the Hamza episode about making the person, the machine comfortable together and work functionally together. And that's
I think that changed a little bit of your thinking.
It did.
Yeah.
Hamza's a smart gentleman.
I mean, absolutely. But I also think you weren't as concerned about our comfort until we realized that this could actually help our driving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think
And
his thing
since
was
drove our car and he got out and was like, this is terrible. And you were like, oh, maybe I should
Like, yeah, I
change it.
know it is terrible, but
well, we thought we were building terrible race cars, not terrible cars into good race cars. And I'll say, you said Hamza was a pretty smart gentleman, and I'll say he's incredibly smart. I'm not going to go on the gentleman one. I'll leave that one on the table.
he cleans up okay.
He does.
All right. So moving on. And I do say this all the time, and it kind of goes into the braking thing. You know this, but then one day you're going to do it at a new level and realize that you didn't know it before. And it is, you can never look far enough ahead. Just always try to bury your line of sight as far down as possible. Nothing sneaks up on you.
I would
Yeah.
like to add that I think this is it only in the last year or two or so I've realized, and this is kind of going into, I added this actually because I think it's so invaluable, because some of the problems, some of the corners that you say, I found if I'm going slow in a corner, chances are I'm looking down at the apex and not up the hill. It's truly one of those, it's like mind blowing. You're like, oh, I'm really struggling with this one corner. I'm scared of it. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel good about it. And then I'm like, when I think about the seconds and milliseconds that are when I'm going into that corner, I'm looking at the ground. And I'm not looking up, and I'm not looking at the next corner or the next two corners or the next three corners, depending on where I am on the track. So I completely agree with this one.
One of the things JG said in his section was, to looking through the glass of the car in front of you, not at the car in front of you, and things like that. And I think that's really important in the 3D chess that needs to be played for racecraft. When especially in a lemons or an endurance where the car count is really high and there's a lot of traffic. If you're having trouble passing someone, it's probably because you're looking at them instead of looking at what they're looking at. Because the racecraft is discovering what he or they are going to run into. What are they going to get to when they get to that corner?
I think this is just as invaluable on the road.
Absolutely.
Just driving all the time. You can see when somebody doesn't see that somebody else is braking in front of them because you saw two cars in front of them that somebody was braking. I think this is just driving in general, but I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just feeling like it's not even just race cars. It is everybody.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
This is one of my favorite things to do with HPDE students is I just sit there at when we get to the third or fourth session, I'll just sit over here and stare at them and look where they're looking. And just, it's amazing to see how they're just looking not at the right things. And then after a couple laps of that, I'll just start to give them a couple word things. So I'll say, this is what you need to look at. All right. Flag station, apex, top of the hill, right where that silver car is. Things like that, just simple little things that can catch their eye. And I do that for 2 laps. All of a sudden, we're hitting the rev limiter and things like that. All I've done is tell them where to look. It's amazing.
That's actually how I used to instruct with the extreme experience. Is I would tell them to have the hungry eyes and to always be searching for the next apex or turn or through the turn. And I think that was a lot of value in that, in telling people where to put their eyes when you're teaching someone. So yeah, there it is.
And it helps so many with other things. People say, I just can't get through this corner. I just can't do this. I just can't do that.
Yes.
And I've said, well, it's because you're staring at like Chrissy said, you're staring at the apex.
Yes.
But you have to look up.
But you have to realize it. And that is a lot of, I just didn't realize those two things went together. I just didn't. I thought it was me and I was stuck and I was braking too much and I'm in my head and all of the excuses. And then I realized that a lot of it is really just where my eyes were.
I'll tell a very quick story that I've told before here, but it's worth telling again. I was at an Evo autocross school in my E36 M3, and it's like end of day one. I'm coming into it's like a 90-degree box out to the finish, and I'm in the box. I'm slowing down. I'm braking. I'm struggling through the corner. The instructor says, "Look at the finish." So I looked at the finish without any other conscious knowledge. I switched from brake to gas, dab of oppo, power through the corner, doing nothing else but changing where my eyes were. The rest of me followed. All I did was look from here to wherever I was looking, up at the finish. Boom. Amazing.
I don't know if you've told that story here because I don't remember that. That's good. I love that.
Yeah.
And our last one from JG, Chrissy.
Take every opportunity to be coached, which we all say how invaluable that is. It doesn't matter how good you think you are. You have different points of view. You have different people. You always have something that you can possibly learn, no matter how good of a driver that you think you are. And even Chris has said, I train other people. I'm really good. You're kind of at a plateau. There are things but you know that there's things that you can learn from somebody else, even if it could be even from one of us. I've sat right seat with you, and there's things that minimal, but there's something that I can say that I think you're hesitating on the gas, you're on the brake a little long. You think you could be, right? So there's things that you can take from anybody, because it's always just a different perspective at the very least, if not actually getting to be a much better race car driver.
I would say that we tend to get, there's a point when you find yourself getting faster, especially if you start moving towards the pointy end of the field, and you get a little arrogant about, well, why would I let this person coach me? I'm faster than they are. And Chrissy's whole point about, I've been at HPDE weekends and had students that are just riding with me because they're trying to get better, and they'll be like, oh yeah, well, right here, and here, do this. And it's just one of those crap, they caught the thing that I missed and it made me faster. Yeah.
Sometimes you miss little things that way. Like at one point at Grid Life, I had 2 laps with Bill before the motor blew up. No, before not the motor, oil line blew up. And I've done how many laps around New Jersey? Tons.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill's like, if you go a little tighter after this, it's after turn 4, before the left-hander at 5, I was kind of tracking all the way out at 4 and not getting back to the right. And it was forcing my turn into 5 to be a little rushed. It's like, just come back a little earlier. I'm like, that's a good point, Bill. Little things sometimes. There you go.
Yep.
Right.
It's
I
a
have
good one.
stuff on this in my section, so I'm going to hold my
Okay.
tongue and suggest that we move on.
Hold your tongue.
To that we move on to our tips. Should we each do like one tip, or should we do everybody?
I like the sections. I think this
Okay.
it flows very well.
Okay, so
Okay.
we'll all do our part, and then we'll move on to the next part. So give a moment for each of us to comment after. Go ahead. Who's first, Chris?
I definitely needed to understand when I was younger that once in a while, even when well, first off, in life, you always play the game, do I have more time or money? And when you're younger, usually it's time. When you're older, usually it's money. But my younger self needed to understand that sometimes the checkbook is the best tool. Yeah.
Is that in life, race car? No, I'm trying to understand where you're.
Yeah.
I know that you say
and
that.
Sanding, we know this.
We do
This
know
is-
this, but I was trying to think if there's other things, especially with race
Yes.
car driving, that
I'll
you were
give
trying
you
to
a
get at.
couple that we've done that I said we'll just pay for someone to do that, and that's like differentials, setting up differentials. That is a art more than a mechanical skill.
Yep.
There is no reason that we should be doing that.
Yeah. Things that can be mass manufactured that are fiddly to make on your own. Like I definitely bought a seat mount for the Civic, race seat mount, instead of just buying, because I was like, well, that's like $60 and that saves me 2 or 3 hours. Okay. Like,
Mounting bracket for the LS ECM or PCM, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
It was so cheap because everybody's doing LS swaps.
What I'm loving about this is they're all different phrases, but we look through our stuff and we're going to see a lot of reoccurring themes phrased slightly differently. And what's good about this is Homs has talked about this, Chris has talked about this, Chrissy's talked about this, is evaluate at the point you are in life and whether or not, the spending time creating this device that you can buy is better. We get a lot of interaction with Tyler Stank. He's younger than we are and he's smart as hell and he's got some time. So he has built things that he could buy because he wanted to learn how to make them. And it's great and good on him. And I've in the past built things that I could have bought because I wanted to learn how to do it. But now I'm getting older. And as Chris very eloquently put out, I've got money now. I don't have a lot of time. I love that.
And even younger me needed to once in a while, not just force my way through it and spend a few dollars and get the easy button. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next one I've got is, and this is especially before there was YouTube University. Take a class to speed up your learning. I just kind of forced my way through stuff. How hard can this be? Read the book. Okay. There are some things that I would have totally accelerated my learning curve if I had just taken a class, like welding. I just kind of did it. That's terrible. Well, it's a little better. What I do differently? Not so sure. I'm just going to do it more, see what happens. But something like that definitely would have helped. That's all.
And this is one of the big things coming with a slight education training background, is the class isn't always just about person up front listing down bullet points and teaching you think. Class is the interaction. It's seeing how other people are making mistakes or what they're learning from their mistakes. It's the entire interaction. Human beings are social creatures, and that is a way we adapt to our environment. And a lot of times, and I did take a welding class and I learned a ton from the instructor and I learned a ton from everyone else in the class as well.
It's not necessarily about just listening to them say things. It's about the practical aspect and someone saying, okay, this is happening to you. That's you're struggling. Here is the why. And I'm going to make this change and you can immediately see the difference. And now I'm going to change it too far the other way. You can see the difference there. Like if someone's learning to weld, to say, okay, lay out a weld bead, and I can sit there and change the wire speed while they're welding. And they're like, well, what the hell happened? And it's because I just changed your wire speed too low. That didn't work very well, did it? Go back the other way, same thing, for example.
Failing in the wrong directions. I'm going to say add a ... to this. Take a class to speed up your learning, and then take another class after you started learning, because you'll learn more when you have some practical knowledge. Like if the first time you touch the welder is when you're in welding class, that's great. But after you've welded for a couple of years, go back and watch those videos again, because you're going to pick up stuff that you didn't understand the first time. And I'll say 100% Great Lakes HPD E1, when I'm in there going, I knew this stuff, but now that I'm hearing it and hearing the theories again, it's giving me a deeper learning and a deeper understanding.
We already talked about this one a bit. Braking, way more important, not the breaking point that's critical. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'm still struggling with this to make best use of this. Next one is quite similar to what JG said, and we already talked about it. Always look further ahead. Yep. I still have to pick my eyes up off the floor sometimes. The exercise we did at Great Lakes HPD, which we continue to hold it out as the gold standard. They put a piece of blue tape across your windshield. You don't need to look below that. It's wonderful. It really forces people.
We talked about, we might have done that once or twice.
Yeah.
I think we did. Yeah. Because it does help.
When you're sitting in the parking lot, you're like, that's really up really high. But when you're out there, you say, actually, I don't need to see
I
anything
don't
below
care
that.
what's there. It's cool.
I might, yeah. So,
oh, are we done already?
Well, thanks for tuning in.
Get the hook.
277 episodes.
No, wait, I'm not done with my acceptance speech.
I want to thank my mom in the academy.
That's what you get for putting your elbow on the phone when it's sitting on the desk.
I didn't think we were done yet.
We're not.
Keep going. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Next one. Understand how to use the traction of as many tires as possible at all times. I used to be one that kind of come in, throw it into the corner, let the front tires kind of do their thing. Oh, no, accelerating out. Okay, let the back tires do their thing. You're missing out. You've got to get as many tires involved in the game at any time as you possibly can to do something.
I think
And
I can
whether
do
it's-
better at this. I don't think I
Mm,
am thinking about this as much as I should be.
yeah, it's one of those more subtle things that you have to have a good solid baseline to get to feel what those tires are doing and understand it. But there's more that they can be doing as to how you move the weight around the car, how you change what is braking, what is accelerating, what is turning, how are you making those tires get more traction. Things like trail braking is getting the back tires involved in what is normally a front tire thing of turning and braking. That's mostly front tires. But if you were trail braking, now you're getting the back tires a little closer to their max grip and making the whole car work a little more for you.
In the Going Faster episode, and this was again Pittsburgh, wonderful classroom program that taught about us like the squishing of the tires and the contact patch, and thinking about them like Nerf footballs, and when you push down on it, how more of it touches the surface. So I'm going to say it's too much to get into right now, but Chris is absolutely right. Go check out our Going Faster episode about weight transfer. I think it was the first one.
And last one I've got is learn how to drive around the car, whatever it is. Because, and this is, we touched on this a little before, the car is better than you. You can drive around pretty much anything. And don't just jump to, well, I have to fix this thing on the car. Unless it's really broken. Like if it's actually broken, fine. But if it's just the car isn't very good at this thing. All right, well then how do you work around that? Because eventually you're going to be in a condition car where you can't change that, or where something is broken and need to drive around it, or you just need to learn how to solve this. Like if your car understeers a lot, okay, great. I don't like all this understeer. I'm just going to go put a sway bar on, blah, 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 blah. All right, well, how can you drive around the understeer? How can you kind of use that to your advantage? How do you say, okay, I've got the plows in the front. Can I use my brakes to do something like trail braking to put more weight on the front to get the front to bite and the back to move a little bit? Find solutions to your problems that do not necessarily involve fixing the car, but involve fixing you, because then you'll be better able to do it even when the car is right.
I was wondering what you were going to mean by that, because
Yeah,
I didn't
like
get it.
this.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it for me. No, I came up with 6 before I read the article.
Oh,
That's what I had.
I didn't
Those
know
are
I
my
was supposed to
6.
have 6. Oh, I have
Oh,
6, but
I only
okay.
did 4.
Oh,
It's fine. Just go.
Why
okay.
does Jeff's 4 take up so much more space than all of our 6?
Because he
Because
writes
Talk a lot.
lots.
He wrote
Where I
stuff.
wrote like a couple words.
Right. Okay. So a lot of these are coming from my years of trying to be a better race car driver by force, by I'm going to say it, shaming myself. And I'm serious. I would stay and say, why aren't I better? I need to be better. Chris would say your lap times are slow, and I would say I'm the worst. You're terrible. Be a better race car driver. This is all just right out there truth. So one of the things that I learned at one lap, true one lap, the light bulb went on. Chris was very happy for me. I found that I was just coasting. I would just kind of let off. I would not accelerate fully. It wasn't full on gas, would go all the way down the street. You're on the gas till the stop, then you stop. I would kind of lift off and just like, I just wasn't accelerating as much as I should. And so I think I believe there is a time for coasting to there is a pause. There can be a pause. It doesn't always have to be accelerate directly to brake. There might be a breath, there might be a little bit, but coasting in general is not a great technique for race car driving. And that might be a dumb thing for most of you to think, but that's what I learned. And so I think it's a valuable lesson, at least for my beginner self.
Guilty as
that's-
charged. I
yeah.
fight this one too.
I do it. I've seen students do it. You know, it's the, especially if their vision starts to get in too close, your foot just starts coming off the gas. And I like that you delineated, the difference between when you're not giving the car input because you're letting the last input you gave the car take effect, letting the car take a set, as Chris loves to say, and he's right when he says it, or you're letting some balance come back onto the rear tires before you're jumping on the gas. And I would argue, I know I did it when I was younger. Some of your most vehement people that say, I don't coast, you're either accelerating or stopping, are probably some of the biggest committed to this. They don't even realize they're doing it.
I think it was I feel like this is a Ross Bentley thing, which is where I'm going next. I feel like he said something like that. So that's why I feel like there is a school of thought that you should be doing one of those things and accelerating. If you're not accelerating, you're braking. And I think that's a good rule of thumb, or at least in theory, except for, the times that what, Chris? You could talk, but you're on mute again, so you can't really do that.
Fine. When you're running out of gas in endurance racing, you're definitely going to find the time.
Okay,
We've
fine.
talked about that, yeah.
Fine. But you're acknowledging that this is the right time to do it, and that's a fine time to do it. But I think in general racing, when you're trying to win, you're trying to go faster, you're trying to get the best lap time. That's what happened in one lap. I realized I just wasn't driving very well. So.
Well, and this also goes back to the weight transfer, because there's a drastic difference between maintenance throttle and off the throttle.
Yeah.
And they do different things, and you should be doing them on purpose when you're doing them.
But yes, be maintenance throttle, because my maintenance throttle could have been my theory of coasting, just not going full speed when I should have been going full speed, but maintenance throttle could be just as bad in the same instance.
Yeah. You need to, I like what whoever said it. Sorry, I was looking down. You should be doing all those things on purpose, not just because you think you don't know what to do.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay. Next is just sit down and read Going Faster. This is Going Faster. Is it Ross Bentley? Who wrote
Ross
that? Okay, great.
It's not Ross. Going Faster is by Jose Lopez, I think. And
okay.
It's the one that they get for Skip Barber.
Skip Barber, thank you.
Yes.
I just didn't write down
Speed Secrets.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, right. I read Going Faster. Chris handed it to me. I fought it. I was like, I'm really tired every day. I'm just never going to read this book. And then I finally sat down and read it, and I got a lot of things out of it. Take it, read it, just do it, even if you don't want to. It's helpful. I was happy that I did. Okay.
I love this next one. It's a theme.
It is a theme. Here's the second one. Understand braking. We already talked to it. I know we talked about it extensively, but we just are all amazed at it's not just where you brake. It's where you brake, but it's also where you come off and how you come off and where you're looking. Because half the time I'm saying, well, I'm going to come off here, but I'm already looking at the ground at the apex, because that's the next section of the turn. That's when you're turning, whatever. So, okay, that's my next one. We don't have to talk about braking anymore. I think it's really important to learn exactly how big your car is. And that is part of how you get comfortable with your car. And knowing, especially endurance racing, especially at Lemons, especially when there's 110 cars on a track that doesn't fit 110 cars, knowing how you're thinking about so many other things about driving a race car, but if you can know exactly where that corner is, and you can know exactly how close that person's coming to you or how close you are getting to that person, that could be the difference between wrecking and not. So I think there's just so much value in understanding exactly where the corners of your car are. And so you can drive your line, even if you think that somebody else is coming into your line.
I want to make a Randy Popes joke here, but I can't quite land it. He drives so many different cars. I don't know if he always understands how big they are.
A great way to do this is when no one's around, roll the car over on a straight to the rumble strips. Where does the car actually kind of end there? You can do this on the highway too. You get to those and feel that where that is. back off, do the other side. Where does the wheels actually hit?
It's also very helpful on the Atlantic City Expressway when the guy in front of you is not going fast enough in the left lane. You just kind of roll over to the rumble strips. Then they look in their mirror and go, "Why is that little light blue car on my ass?"
I was
last 10
afraid you were
minutes?
going to be testing how big your car is on the Atlantic City Expressway, which I felt like is probably not a good test. But it seems if you try to get as close as you want to as the front person in front of you, then you can get a pretty good feel of how big your car is. But I just think it's a great practice, and you can't always do this, but if it's your race car and you're trying to drive fast and you're trying to drive well, I think there's value to understanding exactly where the corners of your car are. Okay. Self not a couple years ago. If you want to race fast, again, I already talked about my shaming and beating myself up. But if you want to race fast, you have to prepare your body. So I sometimes still do, but for the most part, I'm cognizant of it. I used to just go to parties, drink a lot, and then expect to be a really great race car driver the next day. And
Those were slower then.
what?
But the cars were slower.
The cars might have been slower then. But I just expected myself to be a great race car driver. And I think the real answer is, and when I stopped doing that, I started going bed early. I started, God, sounds so old. I started actually caring about drinking more and preparing myself for the next day and trying to
water.
drinking. Did I say just drinking more?
Yes, you did.
That's not what I meant. I meant drinking more water. Thank you.
That's the Towley school of racing.
It seems to be working for them. They don't seem to have much shame at all. Okay, I drinking more water. Thank you for catching that. I think it helps so much. Not only normal workout, but really on race weekends. Not if you're going to race, if it's going to be who's racing first,
I better go to
I better go to bed. I better stop drinking now. That's one of Jeff's famous lines from a very long time ago, of the one of 10 times he actually got drunk at a racetrack. But I think there's a lot to that. And I wish I had put those two together, younger self.
I remember when, after the swap in Godzilla, driving it on practice day at New Jersey, going, whoa, this is fast. And it's not to say that you can't come to the track, especially with lemons, and have a great time and party and do it up. But yeah, depending on what you're driving, and it's easier when you're younger, you will not be able to keep doing that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I remember the race that I poured out the moonshine. I gathered everyone around on a Sunday morning and I said, "Hey, everyone, I found a way to make our race team faster." And then I poured out a moonshine on the
we
ground.
were pretty good about not having moonshine for a very long time.
Very long time. But it's you have to understand your goals. And notice what Chrissy said here. If you want to actually race fast, that's not everybody's goal. And I'm okay with that not being everyone's goal.
Sure. I mean, I guess it's a little bit concerning thinking that there are people as hungover as sometimes you feel at Lemons. You can't, Chris, stop being on mute if you want to talk. Gosh, darn it. Is this your first time on Zoom?
When you have to do the hard, who's least hungover this morning? Who is it?
Wait, what did you say? Who's less
Who's least
hungover?
hungover?
Yeah, it's always Steve because he doesn't drink.
Scissors.
It's
Who's
always
least
Steve.
hungover?
It's sometimes Jim because he goes to bed early.
Why do you think they usually start?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're always starting because you're the soberest, it's a problem.
You could change that.
But it's not. It's not a problem. I like that you.
Not a problem.
No, it's not a problem at all.
No,
Everyone's
it's a
happy.
problem that the rest of your race team is drunk, and usually you go out without breakfast, and the car's not prepped.
But then my stupid team.
Teams always leave me at the.
But it's not that
There are any number of videos of Towley sitting up on jack stands while everyone is lining up. The top 10 cars are lining up,
especially if they've
and
called
they're making like the 9th call for car 44 or car 43, and the RV hasn't even moved.
Yes. So I think there's a correlation between driving well, driving fast, feeling like you're a great race car driver and want to be in this race. You have to actually just treat your body like it's like like you're going for a run, like you're going into a race, like you're doing
Like you're
something.
an athlete, like you're about
like
to
you're-
do a couple hours at 130 heart rate.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yes. I just realized this. So thanks, past self. Thanks now, whatever. Anyway, my last one, it was just a recent ad. Being smooth. I have not always been smooth. I have had the luxury of being in a lot of cars that have been okay with me not being smooth. I still struggle with it sometimes, especially if I get jittery or if I get, almost spin or something like that and I have to like recover from it. I get jerky. It's not necessarily on the steering wheel. Some of it's my abrupt brake to gas. I do that sometimes, maybe more than not. So being smooth, still a thing that I try to practice. Doesn't always come easily to me.
Smooth is fast.
That's right there,
Apparently.
Just gotta know what
Jackie.
it is. Yeah.
You go
Apparently.
smooth and you look at all the right places, and all of a sudden you're going to be going fast without trying.
Okay.
That's right there too, there, Jackie.
There you go.
All right, Jeff, go ahead.
All right, I'm up. I have 4, and yes, they're a little longer, but they're not longer. They're just, I wrote down more things. So my first one is going to be don't hyper focus on winning, which is what I wrote, but what I really meant was don't focus on beating you people or the car or going the fastest. You have to realize that everyone on that racetrack is on the same team. And sometimes picking the spots and following people is way more important. Realize that the enemy isn't the other car or isn't your car or isn't how hard you can push the gas or how fast you can shift. The enemy is the physics between the car and the surface and the track. And Chris talked about it. It's weight transfer. It's understanding the grip of the tires. All of that needs to be done the best. And sometimes the best way to do that is I'm going to let this guy pass me in this turn because then I'm going to get the apex where I want it. Or I'm going to set myself up now to, yes, dive bomb this guy because I know he's going to hold me up. So if I can get like understanding segments and getting that right grip and that right line and that right everything is way more important than how fast I can smash this acceleration moment.
Death
Okay.
smash.
Go ahead.
I like that you said the enemy is not everyone on there. Years ago, was it Gingerman had I think we ended up with the second fastest lap of the weekend. Just stupid fast car. It was teething, and we knew we weren't going to win. We were just sorting the car out a little bit. And what was interesting is the fastest teams that were contending for the win, and these are teams people know in the Midwest, the Save the Tatas and the Boneyard Butchers. They would see this car coming up behind it and get out of the way. And, or during certain times, and I would not run up on their bumper trying to muscle through. I would pull back a car length or so because we weren't in contention. I wasn't going to screw up their race because we were trying to adhere to our goals, which was sort the car and have a good time. And they were competing for the win. And they recognized that there were opportunities where they were going to get past and still adhere to their goals. And, no one gets around me. I'm the fastest car driver ever. I'm going to use this car, take up the whole track. And it doesn't matter that I'm 15 laps out of the car behind me kind of a place. Just drive the car.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. All right. Everybody ready for the next one?
Yep.
This one I was
Chrissy, you're on mute. Chrissy, we can't hear you. I'm sorry.
That's
I
all
had to
right.
do
She
that.
shook her
I
head.
had to make that joke.
This one's actually right at Chrissy because Chrissy wrote her notes before I did, and she put the prepare your body for the race. I thought she was going to talk about fitness and understanding your goal. And I was going to come in here and say, look, it also is protecting yourself at the track from the sun, getting enough sleep, hydration, which she mentioned, but it's also your eyewear.
Not claws, right? That
yes,
was
exactly.
water. Okay,
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
good, good. Okay.
hydration meaning making sure that you're not dehydrated,
Correct.
because I used to fight when the car was not comfortable in the boat and I would not hydrate, leg cramps.
Purple drink.
Yeah. So but
That's not quite
that's not good.
hydration.
But eyewear, like having sunglasses that work with your helmet, your safety gear, stretching before you get in the car, eating right so you're not out there starving or thirsty, and having that water. Like, to me, preparing your body also includes protecting yourself from the environment that is going to be really just what did Chris say? 130 beats per minute, 130-degree temperature sometimes freezing cold, and you got to be prepared for all of it.
I totally agree. And I was just thinking about eating and drinking and how difficult that is if you do long stints. And all of us know how difficult this is, because doing long stints could mean that you are driving over lunchtime and then you don't eat, or you eat some and you don't eat enough, or you get really thirsty like I do, and then I have to get Chris to bring me Scooty at the line so I can take Scooty and rush to the restroom because I've drank all of my water. So this is such a balance to try to make your body happy with you, but also you can't just eat a bowl of, maybe some people can, meatballs and plan to just race for a couple hours. So
and know what your body is going to react to.
sure. Yeah.
Ralph does, we call him Ralph. That's not his real name, everybody. So you know what we're talking about here. Ralph does not eat breakfast before he gets in that car, because he knows he's going to open and he's going to maybe get a little woozy from the fumes.
And he's gonna, whatever he eats, he has to wear.
Sometimes.
That's why he brings two suits and then washes one out.
All right, here's my next one.
Okay.
And we've talked about this, and I think we kind of fell in, not I don't think we've ever fell into it because we never had a really good car, but don't fear not being perfect, whether it's your car or the weather or feeling, like so many people don't get on the track because I just need that one more part, or I'm not going to be competitive, or it's raining, I don't want to practice in the rain, or it's, like our cars, like every chance you have, get out there, because you're going to learn in those less than perfect conditions. You're going to learn. Slow car fast is such a better learning tool. And when I took the 1.6 liter tired Miata on decent suspension and not decent tires to an HPDE, I learned a whole lot that I wouldn't have learned in a well-prepped race car, because not having power to drive around your mistakes, having to do everything perfect, having a little tiny car that if you brake wrong, your lap is over. Like, all of that made so much more sense in a little tiny car without great tires.
That car was so much fun because you could balance it right on the 100%. Anytime doing anything while beating it like a rented mule. And just, that was it.
Yeah.
You could just slide around at 100%. Like, oh, there, yeah, it's a little neutral. Nope.
Yep.
Understeer, oversteer, understeer, oversteer, move around. Oh, so much fun.
There's a reason first generation Miatas make such great race cars.
Absolutely.
Yep. All day.
And I never would have taken that to an HPDE if I had a race car that was prepared.
And there's,
But we had a great time.
Most of our audience is not this crowd, but a great majority of our audiences have met these people. Hey, you should come to this motorsports events I'm doing, to someone that they work with, hang out with. And they always go, yeah, as soon as I get part X, I'm going to take my vehicle down there. And listen to Jeff's words. If you're that little small percentage of people that you are waiting till you have this one modified device to take your car to a track day, to an autocross, don't. Just go, man.
Yeah, and Randy said it earlier, the 450 treadwear tire autocross. Take your freaking battle wagon, your minivan to the autocross, because that's track time. Just do it. Have fun. Oh, but it's front wheel drive and it's not a performance car. Who cares? Get on the track. Have fun. You'll learn. if your race car is broken, take the family truckster to the autocross. Have a good time.
Okay.
All right. Last thing
Asa?
on my list is remember what JG said about coaching and looking ahead? Remind yourself every 3 months that you need to look further ahead and get more coaching. This is not a young person thing. This is a constant thing. Keep reminding yourself. That's it. I'm out. That's my 4.
All right,
Drops
Mental.
mic- drops
Right,
drops
he drops-
microphone. Yeah, exactly. The
But if he
Take
does
a
that,
sip of water.
it'll be loud. So don't do that. You don't do that either. All right, Mental, go ahead.
all right. I embrace my inner hippie about this. And
Oh,
this
did you? No
Oh,
way.
all right.
Inner hippie.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
You're not going to be the fastest. You're not. All right. You've got 110 cars times 4 to 6 drivers. Do the math on that one. One of you might be, and this time that you might be, that's fine. But if you notice the person that's the fastest doesn't walk around telling everybody, and this is important because that's not your value. We are primarily an endurance racing podcast, but some of you might be into sprint racing or autocrossing, and that's fine. And if you're one of those, I didn't come here to make friends, or if you find me a good loser, I'll show you that somebody that has lots of practice kind of people. Motor racing is not your sport. I'm gonna go throw that out there because we, all 4 of us, have met numerous professionals that do this to pay their rent and their mortgages, and none of them say crap like that. It's fine. That's not your value. And that's not really what you're pulling from this. You're trying to make yourself better and get along. And if for the longest time, and he still kind of does this, our good friend Steve, the dishwashing fairy, is like, I know I'm the slowest guy, blah, 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 blah. And we never really noticed because his value wasn't speed. His value is that he was smart. He was sober on the morning stints.
Reliable. Yeah.
Reliable.
Safe and safe.
And safe. Yeah. And safe. And the car consistent and the car
Timex.
and the car was never going to come back worn out, flat spotted, without brakes, or
Did
or
he
any
just
new
break the
scratches.
Cressida?
Or on
Pretty
a
sure
black
he did.
flag. Oops, he did that one too recently.
Right?
Just at how many races? And it's but
I know. We're giving him crap.
and on the sneak, because he was all of those things, suddenly he got really damn fast. He's a fast driver, but he did it by not trying to be fast. We'll kick that one around the horn.
I love that it's not your value because this goes back to what it is that you're trying to do. Is it FTD or just a little bit better? The answer is a little bit better every time.
Mhm.
Fix your mistakes, focus on your mistakes. That's your value. The only person you're racing is you.
Yes. I wish I
Yeah.
believed this. I still don't know that I believe this. So
Well,
that's okay.
When you're all in the same car, you are kind of racing everyone on your
Mhm,
team because
yep.
you know what it is. But use
Hence, my
that
husband
as-
tells me I'm slow.
well,
Chrissy's
Use
inner
that.
monologue also tells her that she's
Yes.
slow. She likes to blame Chris.
Yeah, Chrissy's inner monologue is kind of bitchy. I don't know.
So
Not a
Yes.
fan of
Used-
hers.
use this all to improve yourself. You compare your lap times with your teammates. Learn from each other. You'll all find one of you is doing a corner better than everyone else. How do you combine that? How do you learn from each other in that?
Yep. Go ahead.
My next thing here, this is not so much now. And I feel like, especially at least our circle of people. But when I was younger, I would go tell my younger self, just be nicer. These are the people you want to be around. And I remember, like, when I first started autocrossing, my measure of usefulness was how fast am I? And I wish I'd been nicer to some folks.
If it wasn't going to get us in trouble on YouTube, I'd be singing Give Peace a Chance.
Oh, you could sing it. You just can't play it.
Don't have to parody
All
it, you
right.
sing it.
Yeah. Just
Free use doctrine. It's okay.
all right. The next one is if you are racing a car, be grateful. I don't have the fastest car. I don't have the best equipment. I don't have the cool suit. I don't have the good tires. Doesn't matter.
That guy took my line.
You are living your childhood dream. There is a tiny onesie pajama wearing version of yourself that goes, man, I want to be a race car driver. Sliding around on your big wheel or your green machine, that kind of a deal. Embrace that person because you are that dream. Just be happy about that one.
This is so hippie. It's
It
hilarious.
is so hippie. I was having a real hard time at the 25 hours at Thunder Hill. And I'm there with very accomplished drivers, and I am by a large measure. We had some practice sessions, and I was doing everything we said wrong, fighting the car, fighting myself, braking too soon, trying to make things happen. And I got back into the car, I started to dry out, and I realized that I was there because the people that owned the car and the people that were there driving the car reached out and said, we want you to be a part of this thing. And I started playing that into my head. And then as I came across the start finish line, it was late at night, the person we had on the headset goes, hey, that was your fastest lap. And then the next one goes, oh, it was starting to dry up a little bit, not because of my skill. They go, oh, that's the fastest lap of the weekend. And those two things came to me when I stopped thinking and measure myself by these hard numbers and in comparison to other people, and just embraced the joy of what I was doing and how much fun I was having doing it. All right, here's a non-hippie thing. Don't race your daily driver. If you've got to rely on it to get to work, just don't, get a scooter or bicycle, something like that, something that you can still get to work for a couple of days. And I have told the story of laying under my GTI, the most depressing, frustrating thing ever, because I broke it racing. And it was 2:00 in the morning. It was 17 degrees. I didn't have a driveway. I'm on the street in Nebraska, and I had 2 hours to get it straightened out before I had to go inside, get dressed, and go to work. And that is still one of the worst feelings.
Everyone has to hit bottom somewhere, man.
Absolutely. All right.
Oh, if you race your daily, you need a backup, I think is what you're getting at here.
And I'll take that. Yeah. Like if okay, well, all I can afford is a Miata, but I can take the bus to work. Okay. Yeah. Good.
Or honestly, stick to something like autocrossing and don't modify the hell out of it, because there is plenty of things you can do in your grocery getter that is performance driving, that is safe and not on the street.
The tempting thing is things like Track Night in America, or something that you can still take a race car. Like you can drive your daily fast, but then you probably drove it to the racetrack. I mean, I'm not condoning. I am thinking you are correct, because even when I drove the race car, the Mazda 3 race car to the track, knew I still and then raced it on the track, and then knew I still had to drive it home. That's a lot of concern, pressure. Make sure that you don't break it. So that's a thought that you have to. But yes, I definitely agree. But there's a time when you might say, let me just take this on track, and that's the gray area. And
if you've got a buddy or an alternate plan to get yourself to work to where you not have to do a rush job on a repair.
Mm-hmm. Yes. When we were at Jersey for Grid Life, our backup was Jeff's trailer, wasn't far away, still had a broken car in it, but we could make it work to get to Jeff's house because it wasn't too far. But driving it at Pitt, when I drove it to Pitt and I drove it home, that's an additional concern. So
yeah, when I tracked the Veloster, we had a backup plan because we knew that one of the cars in the trailer had tags. So if something went awry, we could still get home.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I probably could have done that. It's either the very loud, buzzy Civic, which didn't have a tag.
Had no tags.
That didn't have tags.
Well, I could have stuck my tag on it.
That's no lights, no tags, no nothing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal Chris's joke about when I got sick and left him stranded at the track one time because I got down there late, and he was taking his M and chasing a Ferrari, and then went, one of these people has to make a drive from South Carolina to Pennsylvania, and it's not the guy in the Ferrari. I'm going to go ahead and back off now. And
yeah,
I warned him. He was like, I'm just going to go again. Oh, I didn't realize what you were talking about until
I was on my stock 340 stock brake pads and 340 treadwear Continentals. And
I was like,
M3,
you had no backup plan. I said, don't be dumb.
Caged M3.
Right?
Yeah. The M
Hoosiers,
Coupe.
Yeah. M3 and Hoosiers and a Ferrari 360, and the three of us are just banging around, and I'm like, how am I all over you guys? This is terrible. And then, I have to.
And then he gets out and texts me. He's like, I'm having so much fun. And I was like, I'm not picking you up. So you're gonna get help from CMP. Sorry, not
Yeah.
sure how that's gonna happen. U-Haul.
All
I'm
right.
gonna say to mentals, I'll put a ... on it. Don't race your daily, and don't think your daily is a race car. I think it's okay to do some performance driving in your daily, but you need to be, just like Chris said, you got to remember you got to drive home. And you got to remember that if you modify, like, oh, I'm going to do this because I race it on the weekend, that's not the thing to do to your daily. Anyway.
Mm. All right. This one, and I still struggle with these last two, but the one just buy good stuff, not necessarily the most expensive stuff, and it may not be exactly what you want, but just buy good tools. I every now and again I'll still come across one of my earlier tools that I purchased in haste, just because I needed something or I needed this, and this tool was 3 times more expensive than this one. And so I bought the cheapest possible thing. And we've talked about this every year, and you've probably gotten these gifts from your family where it's like, oh, this tool does 7 things at once. Yeah, and it does them all terribly.
It's a gator grip.
Yes. That, buy the
Grip has
thing.
one use: taking
Paperweight.
the obscure lug nuts off when you have lost the.
Yes,
Never mind.
it's true.
Yeah. It's that. And I have just trying to save money cost myself so much frustration and annoyance. And you've got AutoZone and O'Reilly's where they have the rent a tool or loan a tool thing
Mhm.
where basically you buy it and they'll give you your money back if it's a specialty item. If you are shopping for a thing, and was early in our marriage, we used to go to shopping malls and we would walk through this Sears thing, and I would always go to their scratch and dent or look at their stuff. And I was looking at one of their toolboxes, and I still have these toolboxes. And Vicky goes, "Why are you looking at these? You're going to use this. Go get the good ones." And I got the roller bearings and all the good stuff. Still have those toolboxes. And the same thing with safety gear. I bought my first actual road racing helmet on closeout. It was within 5 years of expiration. And
It
then
only hurts sometimes.
yeah. And then I spent 5 times more than that on my current helmet, which I enjoy. I wore it on a flight from Atlanta to Denver. It's amazingly comfortable. It is a pleasant place to be. That we talked about the listener feedback with the good driving suit. Don't get the little tiny 1-layer thing that's you have to wear like 4 layers of underwear underneath. Go to Race Image, you go someplace and get a good suit. Some of the quilts aren't terrible, but just be
Most of them
comfortable.
are.
Most of them are.
Mhm.
I
And
think
then
a
this.
good- Go ahead.
Oh, no, Chris. Or
That's
I'm
me,
Chris.
Jeff.
You're Jeff.
So I think a good thing about listening to this podcast, if you're this podcast listener, we've told you where to find the good value items. Sometimes the $1,000 item isn't any better than the $750 item. Things like Race Image and the right tool. Like I ain't buying anything off Tool Truck, but none of my stuff is junk either. And there's a lot in the middle where it is really good stuff for a decent price that you can probably afford. And so even if you're on a budget, Mental's point here is good.
It's about value.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yep. And then finally, just use the right tool. Not having money early on when I started wrenching and having to make do with this thing. I'm very good at being creative, but I'm not very creative at being good. And it is my
I like
default
that.
habit.
That's good.
It is,
I like
it is my default habit. And I will verbalize to myself out loud in the garage by myself, get up, you lazy bum. The right tool is right there. Stop trying to use vice grips. You've got 4 really good sockets and a great socket wrench that will all fit on there.
Everything is not a hammer.
everything. Yeah. The only thing
Yeah.
you should be using as a hammer is a hammer. So,
And
just,
the right hammer. If you don't have 5 hammers.
yeah,
In
metric,
general.
domestic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Whitworth hammer.
So, yeah. That's my 6.
I love
Love
that.
it.
my life became better when I discovered the difference between a 12-point socket and a 6-point socket.
Yeah.
I mean, it happened at a very young age. I'm not gonna say that was like last week, but like,
I think I
oh,
still don't.
look.
I still don't do it right.
There's a difference between these two, and when I'm doing this job, I should definitely make sure I have that tool.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
This is great. I had a good time with
Anybody want to
this.
say anything else before we wrap this up? It's kind of been a long show, so we should probably keep moving.
What did we miss? What are the things you wish you could tell your
Love
younger
it.
self? Get a hold of us on all of our social medias. Jeff's going to list them here in a bit, or just, down below on our Facebooks. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's move on to the end segment. It is just a tip. We already said it. Chris already mentioned, or I mentioned it. You inspect your cords. Chrissy, how many of my extension cords did you yell at me last time we were at the house?
Oh, I think there was a couple.
There was a couple. Exactly.
I think there was a couple. Yeah. So I'm not surprised you almost lit your whole family on fire.
That
So
wasn't-
it's really
It wasn't that
unfortunate.
extension cord. It
I mean, he's used to electrocuting his son.
I
so
mean,
why not?
his
why not the
family
whole
is used to
right?
it.
It's not
Good.
true. We do not electrocute each other.
If you're one of
No?
those people that just
Why is he
grabs
wearing
a
a glove
wad
to
of,
open that?
if you're just one of those people that grabs a wad of cord and then just throws it into the corner, first off, how do you sleep at night? But secondly, just maybe this one time you actually kind of like loop it up or wrap it around there. And that gives you a chance to run the length of the cord and make sure a chunk of it isn't trying to kill your dog.
I love it.
I love it.
Electrical safety. Do we know what we're going to do next week?
No.
No, but we'll always come figure it
Yeah.
out.
New
Well-
year, new us.
We do know things frequently. Thanks. You know what I know? I know I am very thankful for the people who listen to this show. Thank you for downloading us. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also hope you'll join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. Then, just like the guy earlier, I can't remember his name, give us a 5-star rating on the old iTunes, because it doesn't matter whether you listen on an Android like I do or Apple like the rest of the nut jobs on this podcast. The iTunes actually matter more to the algorithm than anything else. So if you have any questions or show idea, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can still text us 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram or Twitter at everyone.racers, YouTube, Facebook under Everyone Racers, Reddit /E1R. I was on the Reddit just yesterday, and my son went, "Why are you on Reddit?" I was like, "You're 14. Don't get off Reddit." Anyway, thanks again, and until next week, keep the shiny side up. Unless you're like us and there is no shiny side, then just keep those wheels down.